One Piece and Dragon Ball at this day and age, you could pretty much cross over One Piece with anything, and it would be something either interesting or elegant, right? One Piece is going to be the biggest piece of fictional media at one point. I am at least praying to God that One Piece surpasses like Harry Potter. You know, as it stands today in 2025, One Piece is already the biggest manga ever. There is no manga bigger than One Piece. There's no manga that sold more copies or volumes than One Piece. And I think worldwide or universally, One Piece is like the most gigantic piece of Japanese media there is. God knows how many movies there are. God knows how many, video games they are, collectibles, training cards, merch, memorabilia. There's a Netflix live action. Dude, there's thousands of episodes in the anime. Like, I'd say One Piece is a global phenomenon, right? The biggest piece of media Japan has ever created. And the only thing it's competing with now is Harry Potter, I believe. So, at one point, it's going to surpass Harry Potter. I'm just crossing my fingers. It's not like I have a problem with Harry Potter specifically, but I just don't really like J K Rowling like that, bro. She's like an idiot, But then again, I'm also an idiot, right? So it doesn't really matter. But I'm more biased. I'm more of a One Piece tard than a Harry Potter tard. Infinitely. I could go on here and say, fuck Harry Potter. Looking for some hands. Looking for some smoke. Like, dog. And, well, Harry Potter is indeed very imaginative. It's very creative. It's also got 20 million, spin-offs, games. Like, it's a very rich universe, right? I can admit to that. But it's just the person behind Harry Potter is just like, I don't know. But, again, she's an idiot. I'm an idiot. It's fair game. And at the end of the day, I don't personally know J K Rowling like that, right? Maybe she's a fantastic person. But from what I've seen online and on websites like Twitter, she gets a terrible rep, bro. And, well, it is what it is, right? Again, I'm not here to judge the person behind the masterpiece, but, well, let's just say I'm a gigantic One Piece tard in comparison to Harry Potter, right? And at this rate, One Piece could collaborate with anything, with any brand, and it could make sense. It should make sense logistically, and anything that One Piece collaborates with is going to get blessed, right? So let's say One Piece and Nike, right? You make shoes or you make soccer balls with like the pirate insignias. I don't know. You make t-shirts, Nike sports shirts with like Luffy's number or whatever. It makes sense. Nike wins. One Piece wins. One Piece could even cross over with Gucci or something. Like one of these high-end fashion brands. You could, I don't know, make a purse or sell a $1,000 expensive sweater that looks like Chopper or something. I don't know. That's got some One Piece drawings and designs. It makes sense. Gucci wins. One Piece wins. Hell, if even Eminem, I don't even know if Eminem knows what One Piece is. I know M is really tapped into like the comic book industry. like superheroes and shit from Marvel and DC. But if Eminem makes a One Piece album, the homie gets on the One Piece soundtrack and he just raps, that would make sense for Eminem. You know, it would also make sense for One Piece. They both win. So One Piece is at that point. Like, anything goes. And it would make sense. Like, One Piece is that fucking gigantic. Right? And bro, I stopped using Twitter. People there are so toxic. Yeah, I've never had a Twitter, thank God, bro. Facts. Eminem One Piece soundtrack would go hard, though. Yeah, imagine Future making a One Piece soundtrack. Bruh, that would be insane. Future, of all hip-hop artists and rappers, like, don't give me a Kendrick Lamar or Drake. Get them out of here. We need to give shine to other artists. Kendrick and Drake have been in the news cycle for way too long. Their beef is just way too big. It kind of opaqued everything else. You know, it was just like all about those two for a bit. Like last year, it went Not Like Us, and their beef was like super fresh. Give me other rappers. Give me other. Like, dude, J. Cole would make a One Piece soundtrack. Lil Durk, Chief Keef, Playboi Carti. Imagine Playboi Carti, bruh. Arguably the hottest rapper right now, making a song about One Piece, or for like a One Piece OST or a movie. Dude, imagine RuneScape, old school RuneScape, the video game we're playing right now, collaborates with One Piece. They make the Grand Line. They part of the Grand Line is actually like the world of Keelanor. I don't know. You could make anything up. Any video game, like Counter-Strike. Yo. I don't need that. Yeah, Playboi Carti would be like, Luffy, see ya. Dude, it just makes sense. One Piece is so big. Like, it would make complete sense for any brand out there. Considering how huge One Piece is, be like, dude, it's a bag. It's a quick bag, bro. And, you know, One Piece, I think, is universally critically acclaimed, or just regarded as that manga, man. That's why it's so big. That's why it's the biggest manga in the world, or the most sold. You could talk shit all you want about One Piece. You could be like, oh my god, there's 1,000 something mangas, there's 2,000 episodes, there's 20 movies, there's 7 live actions. Like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't got time for that. But at the end of the day, you give One Piece a shot. As a person who's never seen it before, you watch the first 20 episodes. If you're not already committed to the bit, just because the story is that good, then I don't know what's wrong with you, bro. Don't give me the, oh yeah, the animation quality, or the drawings are so wonky and wacky and cartoony. They're not like your traditional anime or manga formats. Get out of here, man. Eiichiro Oda, the man behind One Piece, story and illustration, drawing wise, is such a good artist, man. His compositions are insane, and the story is brutal. So plus the fan base of One Piece is huge. Yeah, it is the biggest fan base. You're not competing. I mean, I don't think any manga anime can hold against the fandom of One Piece and how big it is. Impossible. Now, I'm not saying One Piece is the best manga anime. right? Again, it's very subjective. It's just like music. Everybody has a different favorite. Everybody has a different taste. We're not all the same. We're very different. Your favorite manga might be, you know, not my favorite manga type shit. But One Piece, when it comes to size, mass, girth, the biggest manga. And the only thing, I think the only piece of fiction that's rivaling that today is Harry Potter. And Harry Potter already ended. Like, unless J K Rowling like milks this shit more and like writes an 8th book or a 9th book or some shit, it's, you know, the manga in One Piece is not yet concluded, and it's only gonna get bigger as time passes. Right? So yeah, if you are the head of a company, consider collaborating with One Piece. It would be good. You know? If you work for Nike, make Nike One Piece happen. If you work for McDonald's, make McDonald's One Piece happen. If you work for KFC, KFC One Piece. If you work for any clothing brand, any like, dude, collaborate with One Piece. It'll do you good. It'll do anybody good. Now, I don't know if Eiichiro Oda would want to do that, but you know how corporations are, man, and companies. They just want money. So, financially, I guess it makes all the sense in the world, right?